I'll just hand over to Susanna now to work through the deed-related issues.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm just going to present a few slides that are looking over the last year and also considering in part the last couple of years and understanding what our drivers are for the next year. Most of these will also be updated in more detail at the upcoming May meeting. So incursion management, we are still dealing with I would refer to as a steady number of incursions, as well as existing response plans that have been in place either recently this year or in prior years. So there's still a high level of demand and resources invested by PHA and of course the relevant parties in actually dealing with these. For those that have participated, we've had 3 incident debriefs in the last few months, and those outcomes will be coming shortly towards you and will be discussed in May. So the other thing I think is quite important just to highlight is, given that parties have always, and PHA supports this, you know, let's look at what we've been doing. Have we been doing it as well as we could have? We've implemented what we're calling an annual general debrief process. Every one of you has received guidance in respect of that. And if you haven't already commenced participation in it, I do encourage you to participate. We do need responses quite soon. Outside of that, our ongoing roles and responsibilities in incursion management are ongoing, particularly in respect of owner reimbursement cost assessments, response strategy facilitation and scientific advisory panels. Now, 17-18 has also been quite a significant year for Epprd training. We've been involved in a fair number of simulation exercises. So some of these have actually been developed and led by PHA, whereas in others we're providing a supporting role, whether that's in sort of the planning committee or through actually being evaluators on that. Outside of that, we've also been working with various industry and government members to do training specific for their needs, such as CCCP, NMG Secretariat training, industry board training, etc. You'll be able to see all on the slide there. So for those that attended in the November meeting, the Biosecurity Incident Standard Operating Procedures are coming together quite nicely. They're being trialled. In May, we're going to provide you an update and an indication of how we're going to roll those out. Those will actually be very useful for particularly industry parties to better prepare themselves in the event of an incursion. And I'd highlight, you know, we've had good uptake with Bolt and we're still developing and rolling out new courses. So you'd all be familiar with the 4 new industry parties that we've welcomed to the Epprd, though I would highlight that only 3 to date have actually signed their paperwork. They don't formally become a signatory until they've signed their paperwork. Thank you for all those that have been involved in issue resolution groups. We've made more progress in respect of some of these core issues, such as complexes, equity for impacted owners. Other issues and other issue resolution groups will update you come May, and hopefully, you know, either resolve some of that work or it will be carried over into the 18-19 year. So that was just a brief overview of some of the core things that have been happening in the last 6 to 12 months, but now it's more about, well, what are we looking at in respect of 18 and 19? So it's all about improving your national arrangements and parties' ability to deliver on their commitments under the deed. Now, there's been some core drivers. So I spoke or highlighted that incident debriefs have happened. We've had simulation exercises. These are all subject to evaluation activities or in themselves are evaluation activities. So the outcomes of those will actually really inform where we're going in 2018-19. There's a number of policy issues as well as opportunities. I like to think of them as opportunities, not just issues, that we'll be carrying forward from this year. Members where they've identified their own capability gaps and have approached PHA to do simulation exercises, we are actually running a few of those. Some of those are carryover, so from one year to the next. We always have established roles and responsibilities under the deed as custodians. Obviously, those will be ongoing. We will continue to engage nationally and cross-sectorally to improve our processes, but also to basically help national or inform national arrangements more broadly from parties and PHA's experience under the deed. Ultimately, it's about delivering the PHA strategy. So I'm sure you're not surprised, but incursion management will remain a high priority and a high level of commitment. We do have a number of cost-shared responses that are likely to continue into 2018-19, such as Varroa jacobsoni, exotic fruit flies in the Torres Strait, and chestnut blight. Now, we do actually have a number of cost-shared response plans that will be winding up during the 2018-19 or shortly thereafter. And so we've commenced discussions with some of the lead agencies around undertaking incident debriefs. So those that are actually on the screen at the moment will be ones that if we haven't already contacted the lead agency, we will be, and we're targeting to complete in the next AOP duration. Obviously, the annual general debrief work that we commenced this year will continue. Without a doubt, I'm sure we'll have some new incursions. The quantum, I would seek to have perhaps a little less than in prior years. But, you know, in some situations when we're dealing with an unknown potential in respect of incursions, we may need to reprioritise things during the year. We've done that in prior years. Incursion management is a high priority for us. So Epprd training. So without a doubt, we'll continue our core training responsibilities. And those of you that are familiar with the bulk courses, we'll continue to develop those. We've got a plan to roll out a few in 18-19, regional training workshops, industry board, government department, CC, EPP and NMG training, even just basic awareness material. We're working on frequently asked questions for the Epprd. They'll all carry through into next year. There's a number of simulation exercises. You'll see them on the board. They'll either be finalised in the 18-19 year or they'll actually be commencing, or even just the planning will commence and they'll be delivered actually in the 19-20 year. One of the outcomes from the recent debriefs was also understanding that there isn't a great deal perhaps of understanding of national response arrangements at the more local or regional levels. So PHA will be looking to work with our parties on how we can actually improve that. PHA has a good role and a standard role in national biosecurity response teams through Stephen Dibley. So that will be continuing. And as I indicated earlier, the biosecurity incident standard operating procedures will be rolled out. So in respect of just the core Epprd management aspect, for those that actually attended the November meeting here in Canberra, you should recall some of these items. We will be commencing a review of signatories' normal commitments, and that may involve also capability assessments and review of the guidance material. The process to follow will actually be coming through in May. We formed a reference group this year to discuss what the scope, what the objectives, and potentially how we could deliver that. There's going to be a number of ongoing policy issues or opportunities, including issue resolution groups. I've highlighted 4 of those that are currently in place. They will be priorities for the 2018 and 19 year. Without a doubt, given the 3 evaluation activities we've done, plus all the other simulation exercise evaluations, and just our general application of the deed, we'll probably see some new policy processes, issues and opportunities to be discussed at the May meeting. And we'll see, though they may not actually be within the AOP, if they're high priorities, we will be looking to do those in 2018-19. And of course, standard is the plan review and guidance documents that we do each year. I would highlight that plan review is probably going to be a bigger review than prior years, simply because we've had these evaluation activities. So I wanted to point out just a couple of the guidance documents that have commenced or will be commenced under the 1819 AOP. So complexes, as you recognise or remember hopefully, parties have agreed to vary the deed to include complexes. So we're going to draft a guidance document to actually help its implementation. And there's a number of other things in respect of financial management of response plans, definition of an EPP, T2M. We've had our first two transition to management programs under the deed, so it's timely to actually review the guidance provided. And owner reimbursement costs, it's a owner reimbursement cost frameworks. It's a priority each year, and we're going to be encouraging and working with parties to get their evidence frameworks in place. Other work that will be reflected in the AOP, and we do, is our engagement with national committees and working groups. So this level of participation actually enables us to bring a plant biosecurity and partnership focus to those forums. I would also highlight that the 5-year review of the Epprd, the Emergency Animal Disease Response Agreement, was completed, and their parties considered that actually just this week. We will look and work with Animal Health Australia to see where there is opportunities to harmonise, or perhaps things that they've learned that we should actually be looking at a little bit closer. And those that are familiar with the weed deed, we'll continue to work with the Commonwealth to progress this weed deed or development of a formal arrangement, and I'm hoping to see where that will land and advise parties over the next year.
Thanks, Susanna. Just a couple of questions.
Okay, so just like, who are the new deed parties? Thanks, Jess. Okay, so we have Tea Tree, the Tea Tree, Australian Tea Tree Growers Association. We also have Lychees have come on board. Apologies if I can't describe their exact association. I think it's the Australian Lychee Growers Association. Thank you. We also have Sweet Potatoes. They have signed up, and the Truffle Organisation, so Australian Truffle Growers Association. Those are the four. And are the debrief outcomes being made public, Trevor Weatherhead? No, the debrief outcomes are reports that will be provided to deed parties. They're outcomes of deed activities, and as such, they won't be, at this stage, there's no intent to publish them publicly.
Thanks, Susanna.